Thanks for listening to the Listen Up Girl podcast, where every week I bring you 10 minutes or less of LGBTQ plus news. So welcome to the week of October 21st, 2024. Last week, when I reported about a new queer bar that opened in Boston, I had a friend in town and we went to go check it out Friday night. However, the line was down the block and we both stood in line and said we are too old to be standing in line. Plus, when I was young, I never stood in line, so I was not going to start now. So, Danny's Queer Bar, I'll report, had a good line. It had a good crowd outside, but I have no idea anything more about it. So, no review from me until the line goes down. This week in Italy, an Italian Senate passed a new bill banning families from going abroad to have a baby through surrogacy. So that means that any LGBTQ plus couple that is looking to have a baby through surrogacy, meaning that they could be the biological parent, the Italian government is trying to stop that. The law now classifies surrogacy pregnancies as a universal crime, which can be prosecuted across borders the same as you do with genocide or terrorism. Wow. I think the Italian government needs more to do. Back in the United States in Pennsylvania, a U.S. District Judge, Joy Flowers Conti, has found that the Mount Lebanon School District violated a group of parents' rights. So a teacher read 2 books about trans people to their first grade class on Trans Day of Visibility back in 2022. This judge has said that the school must allow parents to remove their children from any classroom or lesson when transgender identity is being taught. The LGBTQ plus advocates in the area are shocked about this decision, and I'm sure they will try to do something to overturn it. Tim Walz this week has directly addressed his and Kamala Harris's position on trans rights. He was at a press conference and he was very clear on what he would do to protect queer kids today. In the meantime, Trump is continuing with his anti-trans ads. Believe he spent $65 million so far in this election on anti-trans ads. Who knows if Trump even knows what he is saying at this point? But I will say, if you are part of the LGBTQ plus community or an ally, and if you are thinking of even voting for Trump, you're voting against the community. You're voting against me and my husband and all the other couples that are married, because Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court judge, has already made comments about same-sex marriage. And if Trump is elected again, my husband and I are at a huge risk of having equal rights of our marriage dissolved. So think of this. My husband or I get sick. We are in the hospital. And we want to go into the hospital to visit them. Back in the day, before gays were able to be married, or lesbians, or anyone was able to be married in same-sex marriage, you were not allowed to go into the hospital to see them, the hospital room, unless you were family. And you're not considered family under a law, or under a country that has no law with marriage. So I would not be able to see him any longer, and he would die, or I would die in the hospital, or I would not be there to be for him. So just think about that whenever you are going out to vote in a few weeks. So the Supreme Court will hear arguments for a case, the U.S. versus Skirmity. So advocates say this case will determine the legal precedents on whether or not it's constitutional for states to legally ban gender-affirming care. While this specific case concerns trans minors, legal experts say a negative outcome can make it more possible for states to pass gender-affirming care bans for adults. Oh, why are they after the trans community so hard? On October 11th, a gay former NFL player, Carl Nassib, announced that the National Football League, the NFL, will donate $100,000 to the Trevor Project in celebration of National Coming Out Day. So there are a lot of young LGBTQ people that are actually out in the world today, and they are 4 times more likely to harm themselves. And so what the Trevor Project does is it provides life-saving support to these kids. So this $100,000 that the NFL is generously donating is going to go directly to that organization so they can continue their work of trying to help young LGBTQ plus children. Hundreds of veterans that were dismissed from the U.S. military under the now repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy have been given honorable discharge following a year-long review from the Pentagon. So what does this mean? This means that there are nearly 13,500 individuals who were administratively separated under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy and served long enough to receive a merit-based characterization of service. And 96% now have been given an honorable discharge. So a gay and lesbians dismissed from the military during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell era was part of a legacy that started well before 1994. So historians say that at least 100,000 service members were forced out of the military due to their actual or perceived sexuality between World War II and 2011. Crazy, but at least they are now giving honorable discharge to those that suffered before. So Tucker Carlson is claiming that Democrats won't let Tim Walz come out as gay. So he went on Megyn Kelly's show. He said that he was stating that Walz is very animated when he talks and just stopped short of saying that Walz was gay. In my opinion, if Walz was gay, I don't think anybody would care because he has been supporting the LGBTQ plus community for a very, very long time. So just because he talks with his hands a little more than you do, Tucker, because you're so butch and masculine, does not mean that he's gay. Oh, God. So again, the one that always talks about the people being gay or the ones that are homophobic are usually the ones that are in the closet themselves. So, well, that's my news this week for the week of October 21st, 2024. Have a good week. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast, Listen Up Girl, on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks. Have a good week. Basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother.